Hello everyone, it's Matt from Akuma Mods back again with our review of the Longer Orange 4K. 4K resin printing is something that's starting to gain a lot more traction. It's been around for about a year and a half now with the original Frozen Sonic Mini 4K, which was launched back in July of 2020. And then Longer actually followed shortly after, just about a year ago now, back in October. They started a project on Kickstarter to basically turn the Longer Orange 30 into a 4K resolution machine. Now, the difference between this and pretty much all the 4K resin printers out there is it's got a much higher resolution. Now, when I say much, it's minute. So most of the 4K resin printers that are of this size, that have the 6-inch or 6.1-inch monochrome screens, usually come in at around 35 microns. This one is just slightly better, coming in at 31 microns. And the reason for that is because it has a 5.5-inch screen. So the pixel display is not that wide compared to the others. So in some ways that's better, but in another way it's not. The other way is that it is obviously a little bit smaller of a build volume, at least in the X and Y, because you only have 5.5 inches of coverage, whereas everybody else has that extra zero point 0.5 to add on to, I guess. So most of the other competitors are going to have a slightly larger build volume on it, at least in the X and Y, probably in the Z too, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But basically, Longer sent us this machine to check out and review, and we've been doing some testing on and off with it, and it's been a far better printing experience than with our Longer Orange 30. First and foremost, the hood here. If you guys do or do not remember, my unboxing of the Longer Orange 30 was an absolute disaster. I think that unboxing took me about an hour to unbox a printer this size. And that was all because the hood that they originally included with these printers were pieced together hoods, 5 pieces to be exact, 4 corners and a top. And then you use some rubber bands to fix that, along with some 3D printed parts, to try and keep it all together and get it as one piece. Well, that sounds really cool. It's definitely not when it comes to building it, because you got to remove all the plastic coverings on it, or cardboard, whatever coverings that they usually have on acrylic pieces. I forget the exact name of it, but that took about 15 to 20 minutes just to take all those off of 5 separate pieces. And then to piece it together was probably another 20 minutes. I'm not even joking. It was the worst thing I've ever had to do with putting together a resin printer. But we got it together and it worked. And we did have some issues with the older Longer Orange 30, where the vat was improperly welded together. So it actually ended up leaking shortly after we were stopping using it. I think like 4 or 5 days after we stopped using it and just let it sit for a little bit, the vat actually leaked out of it. So it did have some issues. But I will say that this is a better upgrade to the Orange 30 in terms of, it's got a one-piece hood now, so kudos for that. I don't have to struggle with that. It's got a dual linear rail system, which most printers of this size do not have. It's very, very rare that you do see that. And if you do, you're usually paying a lot of money. Again, we'll get to that price point in a little bit. We do also have a plastic vat. That seems to be what everybody is kind of going with. It's kind of like on the teeter-tottering side. Like, I understand the reason behind it. I'm not on board with it 100%. But I understand the whole manufacturing process and getting a cheaper printer to the end user. That's one of the things that makes it a lot better. And then also, obviously, shipping cost with shipping right now is just insane worldwide. So that's understandable why they went with a little bit different plastic vat this time. And it's not a bad vat. It definitely looks like it's an injection molded vat. It's a higher quality. It's all nicely done and everything like that. So I'm not too worried about it spilling or leaking at any point in time. We've been pretty good so far with it, so we'll just have to keep going. But so far, I've had some pretty good luck with plastic vats. Knock on fake wood. Um, Excuse me. The other cool thing that I always liked about longer orange models is that the build plate is machined to be tipped backwards. So while it is flat, the top of it is actually machined flat. So most of the printers nowadays, they usually have like a convex and vex system going on, or a slip off, whatever you want to do. Now, I don't know if you guys can see right off of the distance here, but we got some resin pooling in the back here, and in the, or I'm sorry, in the front and in the back. So that's an issue that happens. So when you pull it off, no matter which way you pull it off, something's going to happen where resin's going to drip. Longer kind of thought about that before time, and while it still has that pooling effect on the back, it drips off to the back. And so when that happens is when you go to remove the print, all that resin is going to, be at the back side of it. So you're not automatically dripping resin everywhere once you take it off the build plate. So that's kind of a cool, I guess, slightly nifty feature that they added on there. So hey, take it or leave it as you wish. That I think that's kind of cool. Another thing that I know is a hot topic right now is the whole Shitu board locking up their printers and things like that. I'm not going to get into that whole thing, but basically, this printer is proprietary to Longer Orange, or Longer, I should say, in general. They have a proprietary board that they have designed, and that utilizes their own slicer that they have, which I'll be honest, I've never really installed manufacturer slicing. It just doesn't seem to work as well as I'd like it to. And to top it all off, I'm just kind of affixed to Shitu Box because I've used it for 3 years now. So it's just kind of comes natural to me. But you can also use Shitu Box, like I said, and you can use Lychee Slicer. Yes, that is how you say that name, lychee. Just like the, I think it's a plant in Japan. Anyway, we've been some printing on this. If I can talk, that would be great. We did a lot of test prints on it. We did some minor prints. Basically, I'm going to say the exact same thing as I said in my Sonic Mini 4K review. When it comes to the 4K versus 2K resolution, it's going to be a very minute difference because unlike, going from an RGB screen that's like a larger size to a 2K screen that's a smaller printer, you're not going from, 75 microns to 40 microns. Like, that is a vast difference. And this, obviously, you're going to 31 microns, where most of the resin printers that are 2K are usually around 47 microns, give or take. It all depends on what type of screen you have and what type of printer you got. I think the lowest is 43, if I'm not mistaken. 43 to 47. So, there's not a huge difference, but there is still a little bit of a difference. Hi, kitty. And so, again, like I said, just with the Sonic Mini 4K, this is going to more or less be reliant on the type of models that you guys are grabbing. Most of the stuff that you guys grab that are going to be free STL files designed, the chances of you getting a super high quality print over a 2K resolution printer is going to be almost impossible. There are some out there, don't get me wrong. There are a few people that love to design things and they're fine sharing it free, but it's very, very rare. Most of the time when you see these shine, these 4K printers, are going to be when somebody actually puts a lot of work into their design. When you're doing like campaign sets on Patreon or Kickstarter, Loot Studios, Dark Gods, all kinds of different stuff like that. I have to get my knowledge base on those. But obviously, when you're printing stuff on a printer this size, you're going to be doing a lot of miniatures, and yeah, the detail is going to be very very high. But again, unless you're actually getting that super fine detail, the only time that you can actually see that detail between a 2K and a 4K on a normal detailed model is if you got like a macro lens or something. But here's the other thing, okay? I see a lot of people do comparison shots between, oh, well, this came off a 2K printer and this came off a 4K printer. I'll be honest, most of the time when you see those, one of the models is not properly tuned, or what's going to happen is the model itself could be perfectly fine and everything is fine setting wise, but the way that these printers print are completely different. Like this one has a matrix UV LED. If I went and I switched to like a an Elegoo Mars that's a 2K printer and I printed that with a cob light source, that might produce a different quality. So the issue is there's so many different factors in there to say like these are amazing printers. It's kind of a bold statement to say because the only time that you see people showing off amazing details is when they have macro lenses on there or super fine upgraded detailed Photoshop photos or videos or whatever. So they and again, every little factor counts in this, even resin itself. The resin that I use in this can be completely different on every other printer that I use here. So I mean, there's lots of factors in that, and I see that happen with a lot of people. And I'm not trying to josh on everybody, saying like they're wrong or anything like that. That's just my experience. They might have different experiences. That's perfectly fine. But I'm just gonna say take it with a grain of salt as it is. But from what I've seen personally, unless you have a super high detailed model that is modeled by someone that way, you're not really going to get the high resolution that you think out of these printers. That's about the only time you're going to do it. So if you're someone who is a campaign backer, these type of 4K printers are going to be absolutely what you're looking for. So that's that being said, let's go ahead and look at some of the prints that I did with this. I did do pretty much all the test prints that they included on this, and all those test prints are test prints that are available on their other longer Orange 10 and their longer Orange 30 models. And then I did some other things, and I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about in terms of detailed stuff. So here's one of them. This is like the monkey see, monkey hear, monkey do type thing, but it's with skulls. So, and you can see there's a lot of fine detail in there with the teeth and the hands and everything and the nose pieces, all these little fine details. And it's printed just like this, no supports, no nothing. And you can see like it comes out very, very nice. You can see there's like the pitting and the skull, because everybody knows that there's pittings on the skull and stuff like that. So they did a very, very good job in terms of details like that and on the bottom and whatnot. So it is a very, very nice print. But again, this is not anything that wouldn't look the same off of a longer Orange 30. And I really wish I had my longer Orange 30 still here, because I would definitely do a comparison print just to show you guys the differences between a 2K and a 4K, utilizing similar resin and tune settings and whatnot. But we'll get into that on a whole other video once we start getting in some super high detail stuff. So anyway, let's continue on with our prints that we did. This one is like a vampire guy, and this guy's kind of cool. He's got some minor details here and there, nothing super spectacular, but like his spikes there are insanely thin and spiky. Like those hurt, man. Those were hard to pull off there. So yeah, it's really, really cool print. This is a hollow one. And then lastly, our last test print is I think they call this the zombie hunter head. And this one is kind of nice because it does have a lot of high detail, at least on the sides and the back of the head. where as you can see all of the like pits from the hair and everything like that. Really, really cool. And this is a hollow print as well. And then we went off and we did a couple prints ourselves. This print obviously is not super high detail, but it's just something I wanted to show off. Um, it's not, done in any way, shape, or form. So there is some pitting from the supports and whatnot and some scratches. But, the engine came out pretty well. That's more or less what I was concerned about. But you can tell, like, this was kind of designed in Tinkercad because you can see it's not a perfect circle. There's kind of lines on there. So whoever designed this, you can clearly see is in Tinkercad. So not a bad job for Tinkercad, though. I will say that's pretty good. So we did have it supported. So there's all the support settings on there and whatnot. We still have a little bit of cleanup to do on it. Nothing super major. And then we have my son's prints, which he did up in Tinkercad. And again, you can kind of see exactly what I'm talking about in terms of, how people are going to utilize the full potential of these printers and their detail. Because if you just kind of have something from Tinkercad, it's just going to print okay. And again, this is going to be pretty much any printer is going to be like that. So, but here it is. There's still a little bit supports on it and everything, but this is a little pea shooter. And again, you can see like there's the lines on the head there, which is basically a ball. But obviously, Tinkercad has its limitations on how you can take down the shaping form. And the same thing with this model as well. You can kind of see that the ball is kind of like that. How it is. So not too bad of a print. It prints just like any other printer, nothing spectacular. It's got a, like I said, a 4K resolution screen, but it is a 5.5-inch resolution screen. So it does have a 31 micron setup. So it is much, much higher resolution than the Frozen Sonic Mini, which is hiding in the back there. Which is at 35 microns. So it's what, 4 microns better? That you'll probably never ever see the difference in it, in my opinion. But who knows? Maybe somebody can get some major detail out of this thing. Who knows? But comparing it to like 2K printers, yeah, you might see some things here and there. Again, it's more or less dependent on your settings and your model. More your model out of anything that you're gonna see those higher details from a 2K resolution. In terms of build volume wise, like I said, because it's got a 5.5-inch screen, it is a slightly smaller build volume over everybody else. Most of the time, the larger printers, well, not larger, but larger screened printers that are 6 inches, they usually have like a build volume of like 170, 180, and like an 85. Whereas this one's got 120 by 68 by 190. So it is slightly smaller. So just keeping that in the tip. And now that brings us all back around to price range. Now, I've discussed this with Longer Orange. Hopefully they bring down the price because this is probably what's killing it and why a lot of people aren't even talking about this printer. Because as of right now, longer3d.com is the only place that you can get this printer, and it is currently going for $649. Now, I don't know if that's taxes and everything included. Shipping-wise, I don't know. I can go ahead and look that up really quick, but that is an insane amount for a printer this size, because when people see those numbers, they're just going to automatically think, well, I can go and get a medium-sized printer, and that's absolutely true. But again, here's the thing about medium-sized printers is that you are upping your microns by quite a lot. So this prints at 31. A medium-sized printer usually prints at about 51 microns. So you got to take the good with the bad on what you want. Do you want a lower price range and a larger machine and lower quality? Or do you want something that's insane quality, a little bit more pricier, and stuff like that? So, again, going back to like comparing to the Sonic Mini 4K, which has been the industry leader for the past year and a half, The one thing that this has over that, besides a little bit higher micron or detail, is the fact that it is a larger build volume. So at least in the Z height. So that's one of the things that, at the time when it was released, 4 months later, that you had a little bit bigger build volume over the 4K. But as of right now, as of making this video, you have Anycubic that's entering the game with the 4K a year and a half later, and then you have Elegoo that's entering in the 4K range again a year and a half later after Frozen. So really, it's kind of a hard sell right now at the price range that you get, because with all those other printers out there that are coming out to be 4K, it's really, really a really big jab at that $649 price range. So again, I will try and speak with Longer about maybe lowering that price, but unless this thing comes down less than $400, it's going to be a hard sell for literally anybody, because even though this is the highest resolution printer on the market, that's sub $1,000, that price range for what you get, just a really, really hard sell in my opinion. So that's pretty much all I'm going to leave you guys with. If you got any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and leave them down below. I will try and answer them as best as I can. And I will leave links to buy this model if you guys are interested from longer3d.com. If they happen to release it on Amazon, I will absolutely add our affiliate link to it. But as of right now, the only place that you can get it is on longer3d.com. So again, I'll leave the links in the description. So I hope you guys liked the review. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I'd always like to grow the channel as much as we can, get some more content out here, and make some cooler videos, because I got some new stuff courtesy of Uncle Jesse and Andrew Sink, so that way we can make some cooler review videos instead of me just talking and showing you guys things. We could actually go to some cool videos and things like that. So maybe the next couple videos that we show off will be much cooler videos than the standard ones that we've been dealing with. So yeah, stay tuned until next time, guys. And yeah, until next time, happy printing.